ready for coming today. It's pretty cool. I see a lot of faces from Strawn, and I see a lot of people that are not from Strawn, so we like that. We get some strangers in town. This is going to be our annual meeting for our State Park Partners Group. This is an exciting one because I've been assured by James we're going to have a state park by the time we do this next year. So, been lots of stuff happening this last year, lots of construction, and I think James is going to go over that. We haven't had much access to the park this year because of that construction. So we tasked the board members with going out, reaching out to other friends groups to find out exactly what their roles are with their parks, and they've come through and gave us some great suggestions. So we're still trying to line all that out. We see our group as possibly doing some concessions at the state park when it opens, doing some things, selling some things that Parks and Wildlife themselves are not going to provide at the park. So we're excited about that. We're excited about having all you folks here, man. We've got the city of Strawn. We completed our water and sewer line to the state park, which that was a big deal. We had our contractor file bankruptcy on us in the middle of the project, so we had to complete that ourselves. But that's been an ongoing project for several years. So I think within the next week or two, James is going to have city water in his house. So I'm sure he's excited about that. We have some merchandise over here that's for silent auction. So any of y'all interested in bidding, please come over and bid on that. We've also got some T-shirts that you can order online. We've got some hats. Make sure before you leave, if you haven't, to sign in the sign-in sheet so we can reach out to you via email if we need to. Everybody that's a current member is invited to attend the hike after this day with, so we'll get you out there at the park. It's a different hike than we did last year, so we got to go on it on the first day hike, and it's very nice out there. So that being said, here's James Adams. He's the park superintendent.
So like Danny said, I'm the park superintendent out here. I've been the park superintendent here for about 5.5 years. The last couple of years of that, we've been actually working on construction. So up before that, it was all planning and design and things like that. But here in the last couple of years, we've really seen some strides. It's not been as fast as we would like. If anybody has tried to build anything in the last couple, 2 or 3 years, Craig's very familiar with it. It's not been without challenges. But we are moving along. Anybody who's been watching this slideshow here has probably noticed these giant runs of concrete boxes. That is a huge step for us. That's a huge part of this construction. It's something that it's a milestone that we really needed to cross to smooth out the rest of the project. And so I'm really pleased to see that it's just about finished, and that should make the rest of the project move a little bit smoother. Another thing construction-wise that is coming up next week is we are having a pre-construction meeting for the contractor that will be building our maintenance complex at the park. So that project has been bid, the contract has been awarded, and this coming week we're going to have a meeting to iron out details and logistics with that contractor. So we're hoping here in the next month or so we will see them out there putting that building together. So that's really exciting for us to see a building come up. You've probably seen some other dirt work on here. That is rough grading for pad sites for our other buildings out at the park. Those are being paid for by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation. So they have raised and are raising funds to pay for all the vertical construction at the park, which is just a new approach to this kind of project, something that hasn't been done in quite this way before. It's a very exciting method of funding this kind of project. It's a testament to the philanthropic spirit of normal Texans. They've had a huge response from just their website has a link that anybody can click on. And now there've been some very large donations as well, but they have a link on their website, and everyone has really been pleased with the amount of just grassroots fundraising that this project has attracted. So that's the boxes I was talking about. Each of those is 10 foot by 10 foot by 74 feet long. Each one of those boxes required its own semi truck to bring it in. They're huge. So that was a big piece of the project. Other than that, they have wet utilities, which is water and wastewater. They're at about 90% complete on that. So that's a huge deal. The local power co-op has put in all the overhead power that they're putting in, and they're waiting for some other milestones before they start putting in the underground power in some other parts of the park. We've got a meeting next week also with a contractor that will be installing fiber optic in the park so that we can offer Wi-Fi in as many places in the park as possible. And that's just a sort of that's us trying to keep up with the times, right? I know a lot of folks look at it and say, you're camping, you don't need that stuff. And I totally get that sentiment. But a big part of our mission is to get new folks out to our parks, get new people out there who haven't typically been out there. And so in order to do that, we need to offer them some of the luxuries that they would have at home and some of those comforts and a feeling of safety and connectedness. So all that said, I like to talk a little bit and then answer questions a lot, because that way I know I'm saying what people actually want to hear. So does anybody have any questions? Yes. I can. I don't know how far away we are from any of them, but yeah. If one pops up, tell me. I'll spin around real quick and tell you what it is. Yes. So we're planning on having a soft opening later this year. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but that'll be later on this year. Probably, I hate to even narrow it down to a month, but I'd say probably fall. And then a full opening next year. I would imagine so. Yeah. The full program of trails is right now is calling for about 32. When we open, it'll probably be closer to like 12, with the rest still under construction. Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed the part because I was taking a picture.
It's okay.
What are these boxes for and how big are they?
So those are bridge class culvert. It's a bridge class box culvert. And so the dirt will be filled up on the sides of them, on the side where the crane is, and on this side that would be towards us right now. The dirt will be filled up, then there'll be dirt on top of them, and the road will go on top of them. All right, so that's Russell Creek there. And so it's basically raising the driving surface about 15 feet higher than what it was before.
And then my other question is, when did construction start, and when do you expect it to be fully completed on everything?
So it started January of 21. Yeah, January of 21 is when it really started. And then, okay, so this is the headquarters building. That is the Trailhead parking lot. That's a field of flowers. So it started January 21. We had a hiccup with one of the contractors, but we got it back up and going again, and we're thinking it'll be fully completed sometime in 24. That's all the buildings erected and everything.
Okay. And will the park be open to the public free of charge? Or will there be fees?
It'll be fees. It'll be just like every other state park. Yeah. There are days where we do some free events and things like that, but generally speaking, yeah, there'll be an entrance fee. But we'd also sell what's called the Texas State Parks Pass, and that gets the holder free entry into any state park in Texas. Yes. We have 10. Yes, ma'am. Each one of them has water, electricity, a 2-horse stall, and the parking pad is made out of caliche rather than asphalt to help with the loading and unloading of the horses. Yes.
I have a couple of questions about the trail. Is the trail being designed in Austin, and who's doing the construction?
So it has been designed in Austin, yes. The first part, we're going to try to utilize AmeriCorps for the clearing portion of it. And then I believe there will be it'll be put out for bid for construction. Yeah. Yes?
Will there be any outer buildings like a stand, like a cabin?
Like cabins, things like that. Not in this first phase. We did design the park with cabins and some other amenities, but the budget did not allow for that. When we first got cost estimates on that portion, that park that we originally designed with 20-something cabins and a big group building and several more campsites, it was like $68 million. And that was in 2018 dollars. So as you can imagine, that would be quite a bit more now. So what we had to do was get it done for $30 million. So that required us to postpone construction of a lot of those higher dollar facilities. But the things that we did build were put in such a way that they won't prevent us from adding these other things later. You know, we're not going to have to totally reroute utilities to add something later. We put things in a way that allows us to sort of plug and play new things.
Sort of a follow-on to that one. So you got the park that's going to be one that's being built now, and maybe an expansion of that, that's kind of designed in. So what percentage of the park park land is going to be camping and roads and, the buildings and stuff versus the percentage that's left just wild?
That's a great question. So I don't know if everybody heard it. The question was how much of the land in the park is being developed and then how much of the land is being left wild. The park is 4,871 acres right now. We're always open to adding on to that if there's contiguous land available, but right now it's 4,871. The footprint of construction, and that's if you draw a circle around construction, right? The footprint of it is right around 200 acres out of that 4,871. So, if we added all these other things, it would still be a very small percentage. All of the development is sort of centered around the lake. And then outside of that, it's really just trails. Yes? There's not a map yet. There's not a map yet. There will be. What's that? Well, we have drawings, we have the plans and stuff, but we don't have our facilities maps yet. But we will. We will have them this year. Yes?
West side and not the east side is not being developed?
That is, to a point, yes. The headquarters visitor center is on the east side of the lake.
I don't mean the lake, but I mean when that big bridge comes in across the property, and you have the west side and the east side, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So the west side is the side that's being developed?
For now, yes.
And the east side is not, right?
Correct. There is the full trail programming does have trails on the east side as well, but the initial build will be on the west.
Are kayaks built acceptable or just non-litter?
So what we're building is for lake access. We'll have a large fishing pier that juts out around a point and then comes back. We'll have a small boat ramp and then a floating dock with a paddle-on, slide-off kayak and canoe launch that's fully handicap accessible with rails to load into that. So you'll be able to sit your kayaks and canoes on a very stable platform and then slide off and on. as far as motors, what we're allowing is no gas motors on the lake, right? So what we want to do is we want to eliminate the noise pollution of the internal combustion motors because it's a very small lake. They're not typically necessary for this size lake. We wanted to eliminate the possibility of fuel spills and things like that. We want to eliminate wakes because, again, it's a very small lake. But what we didn't want to do is prohibit folks with upper limb disabilities from being able to get out on the water. So that's why we're allowing electric motors only. And so until Tesla makes an electric motor, we should be good with the no wakes. Yes?
How did the land handle the drought last year?
It got dry. So we did actually have a fire, but it was, I think we were technically still in a drought. It was August, is that right? August of this year, or of this past year. We did have a fire out there. Where it was good and bad. It was difficult to access where it was. I never saw the head of the fire while it was still burning. But because of where it was and the things that caused it to be difficult to access, which namely was rock and terrain, it didn't spread fast. It burned for about 2.5 days and only burned about 7 acres. So the Forest Service was great to us. They came out the morning after it started, and they brought dozers and they had air assets. There was another fire north of town. And so they had some assets there as well, and they got it knocked out really quickly. But it was, to have a fire burn in August in Texas for 2 days and only get 7 acres everybody was pretty surprised about that. Yes? We are recording data with the Unihedron Sky Monitor, I think it's what it's called. It did break. We had to send it back to Canada, right, to get fixed. But we actually just got it back day before yesterday. So we'll have it back up, but we are recording the data for that. We'll have to, once we're open, there's changes, right? So we'll have to continue to monitor that for a little while after we're open and see how that changes the light levels. But I don't think it'll be a big problem. All of the lighting in the park is being designed to be dark sky friendly. We just had a conversation earlier about the fishing pier and the fish attractant lights and the best way to make them dark sky friendly as well. So I don't think it'll be a problem, but we're still, a little ways away from it. Yes?
Will there be opportunities to volunteer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The question was, will there be opportunities to volunteer? So state parks really, really depends on volunteer forces. James, I'm going to put you on the spot and see if you remember how many full-time equivalents we get from volunteer hours. 300. The volunteer hours at state parks is equivalent to 311 full-time employees. So state parks only has, in actual employees, about 1,500 employees. So that's a huge portion of the labor at state parks is volunteer forces. What we'll have opportunities to just volunteer for the day. We'll have opportunities for what we call park hosts, where folks stay out on site and then volunteer in exchange for a free campsite. And then we'll have opportunities for repetitive volunteers that don't necessarily stay out there, but maybe have something that they're really interested in that they want to help out with. So we'll have lots of opportunities for that. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, trail maintenance would absolutely be one of the volunteer opportunities for sure. Yes.
So this is equestrian related.
Okay.
We've been, our whole equestrian group has been riding out there for 4 years now. And we're waiting with bated breath for the trails to be open. But the last interaction that I had, I was emailing Mr. Adams, I think it's your name?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, well, I'm Kelly Watson.
Okay.
And so we were emailing about the trails. And you said at the beginning there's going to be 15 miles of trails, but it's going to be multi-use.
Right.
So that just raises red flags for me, because when I was at Cedar Creek, we couldn't hardly ride our horses because we were overrun by bicycles. So, you know, the bicycles and the hikers need to know that they need to yield to horseback riders, but that just sounds to me like it's going to be kind of a mess. Plus, you know, we're hoping as horseback riders, we're hoping that there's going to be way more trails than 15 miles out of 4,000 acres. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said earlier, there's actually 30-something miles that are designed, but when we open, we won't have had an opportunity to build them all yet. So they'll still be under construction when we open. So there won't be the 32 on day one, but we'll still be working towards that. The multi-use nature of the trails, I had that same concern that you have about the interaction of the different types of users. I've talked to some of the bigger parks with very heavily used trails, and the problems that they've had 0 injuries or property damage on the trail from interaction of different user groups. Now, they did have some property damage in a parking lot, but that, you know, the trails had nothing to do with that other than it was a parking lot for trails. I agree that trail etiquette is important, you know, but the problems that arise from this stuff they're not horse and bike problems. They're not hike and bike problems. You know, they're people problems. Every one of them is a people problem. So, my suggestion, you know, we will have signage to indicate trail etiquette. We will have information on trail maps that indicate trail etiquette. But I think the biggest thing that will help this is not separation of these user groups. It's education of these user groups, so that everybody understands what the other groups want out of this trail use, and can work together so that everybody can get what they need out of those trail groups. And each of those groups has you know, statewide and national organizations, and you know, I would think it would be great if those organizations work together to address that problem, not at one park, but at every trail. You know, that would be my suggestion. But the short answer to your question is, we will have multi-use. They will be multi-use. If problems arise where we have to separate them, we can look at that. But the problem with that is, no matter how I separate them, this group is going to want what this group has, and this group's going to want what this group has, no matter where I split them up or how I separate them. So to me, the best solution is to let everybody use it all, and the people get along rather than split it up. So, yeah, you bet. Anything else? All right. Well, so I hope everybody got whatever questions they needed answered. If you have any more, you know, I'll be around. I'll be on the hike. I don't know if everybody saw our silent auction over here, but there's a lot of cool stuff there. Some stuff that you're probably not going to see outside of right there. And some great cookies and refreshments over here. If you're a member, then we are going to go on a little hike here in just a little bit. And with that, I guess, do we have anybody else that's going to speak or say anything? No? Okay. Oh, yes. It is, it's about 2 miles. Is that right? Yeah, it's about 2 miles. Not incredibly arduous. Less arduous than the hike we went on after the last meeting. If you were at that. That one was probably, like 4 miles? Less elevation change than what that one was as well. We'll hike up a small hill and then gradually hike down to a stock tank. We'll sort of mill around there for a little bit, and then we'll hike back. The important thing about the hike is that we all stay together. Anybody who's going on it, we got to stay together. It's not a time to go explore on your own. This is a guided hike, and we need to all be in the same place. So, but if anybody is not a member, I encourage you to sign up and come on the hike with us and get to check a little bit of it out. Yes.
For the big group, 100th anniversary is this year. Have you got any more information on how or what role this park's going to play in that, or how it's going to be highlighted during that?
So, like he was saying, 2023 is the 100th anniversary of Texas State Parks. The Texas State Park Board was created in 1923. Obviously, having a brand new park on the 100th anniversary is a big deal. So we will play a part. Our soft opening will be an event. It will be one of the 100-year anniversary events. All the parks are having 100-year anniversary events, and all that stuff is on our websites. As far as exactly what ours will look like, I don't know that yet. It'll be in connection with that soft opening that I mentioned earlier. All right. Well, thank y'all all very much, and we're gonna mill around for a little bit. We'll mill around for a little bit, and we'll head out. And I will. If anybody going on the hike and not know where to go. Okay. All right. So what we'll do is we'll go out to if you go to 16 and then go past Mary's, turn right on FM 2372. You're going to drive all the way down FM 2372 until there are barricades blocking the road.